Veritas Files here. First things first, thank you for your nice, polite interactions on the last video. Most of the time when I get into philosophical religious issues, um, they don't get those videos don't get many views, and they certainly don't get a lot of interaction. But some of you went out of your way to, let me know that you appreciated the content in some way, and I especially appreciate one person who I think tried to take the video in the way that I meant it and not in ways that it could have been taken. So I appreciate that. You know who you are. This video will not be one of those, though I will be touching on some issues that relate to the kinds of things that I discussed previously. This is a video, gosh, that I've been asked to do 100 times at least. I leave a lot of comments, and my comments are super wordy because I'm a bit of a windbag. I write better than I speak, but that's just because I can go back and reread and spell check and all that kind of stuff. But people often want to know why it is specifically that I stack precious metals, and they want the explanation that I give when a lot of times I make those big, long, wordy posts on videos. So this is probably a failed attempt to do that. Here we go. Why is it that I stack? Well, the simple fact is, it's just wisdom. It's just prudence. You see what's happening, and you naturally want to, if you have a clue, if you have any wisdom whatsoever, you naturally want to take action to mitigate whatever impacts are going to come your way, right? Now, in my case, this was 20 years ago. I was reading some books by Ron Nash. He's a Christian philosopher that used to teach at, I think it was Western Kentucky University or something like that. And then he taught at several other places after he sort of retired from the sort of secular academic life. He taught at some seminaries and different things like that. But I was corresponding with him back in that time before he had a stroke and then passed away, I think in 2006 or 7. And I was learning about economics, which got me into learning about sound money, and I started to look at the nature of money. And as soon as I figured out that money had a nature or essence, it was like a light bulb went off, and it was obvious that I should be stacking. Given what's happening in the world, given all the geopolitical, social, moral, religious powder kegs that were set to go off, and many of which have still not gone off and are still just poised to explode in our faces, I had to stack. I had to. You may be wondering what you're looking at. Before I get into the big explanation, this is actually not part of my stack at all. This is stuff that I've picked up over the years. I do not collect or stack more barber halves or barber quarters or anything barber, but you'll see quite a bit of that down there, plus standing Liberty quarters and things like that. I don't keep those either. Those are not part of my stack. I do pick those up on occasion when they're cheap. A lot of these are, VG4, 6, they're not in the greatest condition. And I keep these for other people, basically, or for, you might say, to insulate my core position in silver and gold from having to be sold off. So this particular one is just part of a small, I keep it in a jar, frankly, on property, but not in the house type thing. And it is, it's just a collection of old coins that, someday if I need to sell them in an emergency, rather than selling off my core position, my actual stack, I could sell this. On the other hand, if I don't need to do that, I can always give this away or leave it to someone, and they can go sell it. Many of these, because they're barbers, are worth a lot more than what their silver weight is. So, there you go. It would make it's a great little bank account, savings account. And then I had some gold over there, and I'm trying to fill up a coin tube with 40 quarter ounce pieces. So there you go. And, I keep some $1 bills. There's a couple hundred $1 bills there. Eventually, when I get 500 or 600 $1 bills, I eventually turn those in and buy some gold with them usually. So that's what you're looking at there. Why do I stack? Well, it turns out that gold and silver are money. They're natural money. Money by nature, by design. Ontologically, they are money. Money has roughly 4 functions, and it's got probably 12 or so properties. And whatever fills those functions and properties or exemplifies them to the greatest degree, that is money. Okay? Now, some of you may not be aware of what the functions and properties of money are, so I will quickly just run down the list. I'm not going to explain each one. You can look them up and find out what each one of these things are. So I would encourage you to do that. The functions of money are as follows. Money is a store of value. It's a medium of exchange. It's a unit of account. And it's a standard of deferred payment. Okay? Those are the functions of money. Money has to be able to do those things, or it's not money. Properties of money are fungibility, durability, portability, recognizability, the stability of value, its non-counterfeitability or its difficulty to be counterfeit, its divisibility, the fact that it's verifiably countable, it's inert, meaning that it doesn't break down easily over short periods of time, but only over long periods of time, if at all. Its relative scarcity, which is an important one, and its historical track record. Okay? Let me say something about the scarcity. Scarcity by itself does not make something money. In fact, scarcity by itself often will make something not money. So, for example, platinum and palladium, they are far too scarce to be money. Okay? And also keep in mind, it is relative scarcity. Now, I can't tell you specifically precisely how scarce and not scarce something has to be money. That's sort of the beauty of this nature or essence kind of argument. It is something that becomes apparent, that is discovered rather than invented. So it's something that is naturally present, but it's not a convention of mankind. Okay, you can think of other things that have an essence or a nature. Human beings have an essence or nature. We are a body-soul unity, right? We have a soul, we have a body. The soul wears the body in a manner of speaking, okay? Like a hand and a glove, the glove does nothing without the hand inside of it. Same thing for the body. The body does nothing without the soul. You remove the soul from a body, then you have a dead human body, right? You don't have a human being unless you have a soul and a body, okay? We have a nature or an essence, okay? The same thing is true of marriage. Now, unfortunately, our Supreme Court decided to undefine marriage a few years ago and make it logically inevitable that every kind of romantic grouping would eventually qualify as a marriage. But let's leave that out and just talk about its nature or essence. It is a heterosexual union by nature. You can know this because of the mechanics of the human body. Our reproductive organs have been designed for a purpose. Purpose only comes from, incidentally, only comes from an intelligent personal source, just FYI. But they have a definite purpose and design. They fit together, and when fit together at an appropriate age and time, they create what? Children, the next generation. They do this by necessity and by design, right? Any other grouping, any other circumstance is, generally speaking, not what you're going to want. When you bring male, female reproductive organs together, you create babies. When you pair them with other things, you generally create nothing or disease, okay? This is just a fact of nature, a fact of life, and it's part of the nature of marriage, that marriage produces children. It is heterosexual in nature, monogamous, and lifelong. Money is very similar. It is something that you discover over time. We began discovering money more than 10,000 years ago when copper tools, needles, hatchets, knives, nails, things like that began to be traded. Eventually, we got to coinage a few thousand years ago, but it was copper that was money first. Then it became copper and silver about 6,000 plus years ago. And then gold was added around 5,000 plus years ago. Now, each of these metals exemplify the properties and the functions of money to one degree or another. Now, which one does it better? Well, that's going to be gold. And based upon this superior exemplification, gold has a higher, what I call, wealth storage density capacity, WSDC. You can use that as an acronym. The wealth storage density capacity is higher for gold because gold exemplifies the nature of money better than silver. Silver exemplifies the nature of money better than copper. There's only one other metal that can qualify as money at this point, and that is nickel, which was brought into the fold right as the Industrial Revolution was taking off, which I suspect was not accidental, that was the case. But nickel sits right above copper because it exemplifies, again, the nature of money just slightly better than copper. So the wealth storage density capacity for nickel is higher than copper, lower than silver. So if you include all four of those metals, it's gold, silver, nickel, and copper. Gold and silver are the only ones that have a WSDC that is significant enough that you want to hold significant amounts of them over long periods of time. Time is an important factor to consider because people talk about money and they talk about it in inappropriate ways. They talk about investments, for example. This is a pet peeve of mine. Silver and gold are not investments unless you're just talking about an investment in the sense of a place to park your wealth. If that's all you mean, then yes, it's an investment. If you mean anything else, it is not an investment. You can't use terms equivocally if you're going to use terms accurately and precisely. When you talk about investments, you're typically talking about something that you're going to put money or wealth into, and you're going to get some kind of material return. You put in $1,000, you get a 10% return, so you get whatever, $1,100 back, whatever. That's an investment. Gold and silver are not like that. You don't put money in and expect to get additional money back. What you expect is the preservation of the purchasing power that you put in. That's what you expect. And you can best expect that over long periods of time. You put money in and then 1 year later you've lost 30%. That is not a problem, and gold and silver have not done anything wrong at that point because you have to be thinking in long time frames if you're putting money into gold and silver. And by long time frames, I mean long time frames. If you're not thinking about it in terms of 30 to 50 years, you're making a mistake. Anything less than 30 years, The ability for gold and silver to do things like hedge inflation will be increasingly hit or miss. It may still hedge inflation to a great degree, but it's going to be increasingly hit or miss. You may have years where it doesn't do a good job, right? But over 30 to 50-year time frames, it will do an adequate job. That's what it's for, because it is not an investment. It is money. Money functions as money in sound money environments, which, of course, in the United States and around the world, we do not have. And it functions as monetary wealth insurance or as a savings account in unsound money environments, which is what we have. Now, you can have localized sound money environments at, say, a farmer's market or at a vet's office where you have an understanding that you can pay for your vet's bill in silver or something like that. So those things can exist at a local level, and they will exist increasingly as gray and black markets arise when things like a CBDC are instituted against our will. Okay? That's another reason to stack. If you want privacy, if you want any kind of check on government and corporate power over your life, then you need to have money outside of the system. And the only way to have money outside of the system that is not connected to government fiat is to have gold and silver. Other things can be money, but other things that are not gold and silver, that do not exemplify money to the degree that gold and silver do, these are what I call poor money substitutes. So you can use firearms, and you can use ammunition, and you can even use food or seashells or tally sticks or any of the other things that we have used over the years as money. But these are poor money substitutes. These are not money, okay? Gold and silver will forever be money. Now, one of the things that I mentioned in the last video is that we are moving into a technological age where our technology is outstripping the ability of our natures to handle its power. That is why gold and silver will be money forever, because money has always been something physical. And frankly, we are not capable of handling a circumstance where we move into an age of the non-physicality of money. Our natures will not do it. We will abuse our fellow man if we go that route, and we will do it. There is a 100% guarantee that that will occur because of the nature of humanity. We are fallen. This is a truth, regardless of whether people want to agree with it or believe it. This is just true, okay? And I'm not trying to assert in arrogance, oh, I know better than you. I'm just saying this is a factual, demonstrable, observable, factual truth about humanity. I put that to the truthfulness of Christianity, but you can deal with that any way you would like. It's just the case, okay? And history confirms it over and over again. I haven't said even a tenth of what could be said about this topic, right? But I wanted to put this out here because so many people have been asking me to talk about this forever. You need to think about this and think about gold and silver in these terms. If you get this down, if you understand this reality that I'm talking about, it will really revolutionize how you see money, how you see gold and silver, and how you think about prices and all that kind of stuff will be told. You won't even care about the gold and silver price, because it won't really be relevant. You might look at it on occasion, but you'll understand that your purchasing power, your wealth is safe, okay? Because this is money. It has the broadest base of buyer in the world. It has been money for thousands of years in every economic circumstance known to man. It can be trusted. However, speaking as a Christian, I say do what is wise, but hold these things with an open hand. You are not in control of reality. You control what you control, right? But you are not in control of reality in an ultimate sense. So you do what's wise, leave the rest up to God. Thanks. I appreciate you guys listening. If this helped you, you know what? Comment. Let me know. Take care, guys.